The Congress party is up in arms. They're saying this was pre-planned. Manish Tiwari, former union minister and Congress party leader, says this is preposterous, it's ridiculous. He went to the extent of saying that this adventure will have security ramifications. Now on the broadcast, I want to invite Tariq Pirzada. He's an analyst who joins us from Pakistan. We also have Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, former Director General of Infantry during Kargil War. We also have Ambassador K.C. Singh, who joins us on the broadcast. Tariq Pirzada, I want to begin with you, sir. How does Pakistan view Prime Minister Narendra Modi's pit stop at Lahore?
Well, the whole country is watching the arrival and now the entertainment of the Prime Minister of India at the palatial residence of Mr. Nawaz Sharif. The entire media is euphoric in Pakistan. So the people in Pakistan are generally very receptive. There is never a reason and has never been a reason why an Indian Prime Minister, if he happens to be in Pakistan, should not be welcome. So I think it's a welcome thing in Pakistan up until now.
Okay, now Ambassador K.C. Singh, in 1999 in February, former Prime Minister, then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee visited Lahore. Now that was a structured visit. Even though there was a grand reception for Atal Bihari Vajpayee, what was also there was a lot of stone pelting, which neither the media here nor the media there showed. Ambassadors' vehicles were attacked, people were attacked. That time there was anger in Pakistan. This time we are told that anger is missing. Or are we misreading the situation?
No, Gaurav, I was then the spokesman. I was in Lahore with the media. The pelting was done, I think, with a little connivance. It was with the knowledge and with the approval of Nawaz Sharif's government. They were allowing Jamaat-e-Islami to let off steam. And that got a little out of hand. They pelted a few cars. In fact, a rumor started that Prime Minister Vajpayee's car had been pelted with stones. Fortunately, I was in the control room. Had that information come out, we would have had a serious situation in India. But that was not so, because Prime Minister Vajpayee delayed his move to go for dinner to the Lahore fort. It was when people were going to the Lahore fort that some of the groups got out of hand. But then I think they got a good drubbing at the hands of the Lahori police. But that was a bit of play acting which got out of control. I don't think it was a serious protest. There were small groups of people. They were just allowing them to let off steam. This time there was no question of that, because the Prime Minister has been flown by helicopter. He's not driven down. So where is the question of a protest? And secondly, it's not announced in advance. Nobody knew. Everybody is taken by surprise. So Prime Minister lands there, literally giving 2, 3, 4 hours notice. Where are you going to get any protests from? Even if there were going to be any protests, and why would there be protests? The problem has never been whether Mr. Nawaz Sharif is friendly at a personal level or receptive to having friendly personal relations. The problem is Mr. Nawaz Sharif's relationship with the military and his ability to carry them along on his vision of friendship. And secondly, his willingness and ability to stop the Punjabi jihadi groups.
That's a very big point you raised there. So let's take this step by step. General Shankar Prasad, that time Parvez Musharraf was not on board. He wasn't in Lahore to greet Atal Bihari Vajpayee. This time Rahil Sharif is not there. But is Rahil Sharif on board? Because that will be the big question. That time when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was going in, you almost had the same time Pakistani troops moving in for Kargil. Will things be different this time, General Shankar Prasad? How do you look at the situation?
See, it's very difficult to say where Pakistan Army stands today. But some of the indications do show that there is some kind of better understanding, if that's the word, better suited to people, or better understanding between the civilian government and the military hierarchy of Pakistan. Perhaps after the last visit of the Pakistan Army Chief to the United States, where some kind of advice has been given to him, which perhaps the entire world knows. That is something that we cannot guess today. What we really do not also know how the ISI is going to react, and is it going to stop terrorism or reduce it or do any such activity. But there is another important factor from what happened in 99 till today. 2 points I want to make. First, what happened in the intervening period? Is it that we stopped discussing anything with Pakistan? No, we did not. there were a large number of back channel talks. They yielded no result. Now, as I said in the previous program on Hindi channel of yours, it is now a head-on diplomacy. It's best to talk up front. The only thing that's missing is the media, which tries to capitalize the whole issue and perhaps create different vibes.
Okay.
That's the part one.
Let's talk about it. No, let's take it step by step. General, we will take it step by step.
Yeah,
you're saying that the atmospherics, media is not being allowed to stop spoil the atmospherics. The Congress party this time.
The other major important point.
Okay.
No, you have to give me the chance to give the next major point. The shift is that there is a big emphasis on economic development now.
No, but economic development, the shift was always there. Is the Pakistan army on board? This economic development remains the big question, because Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Manmohan Singh, they all wanted economic development. But that economic development always was stopped.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
It was always stopped by terrorists, and Pakistan army. Are they on board?
Where does Pakistan army stay in the whole thing?
Yes, and Tariq Pirzada, is the Pakistan army on board? Tariq Pirzada, is the Pakistan army on board this time?
My views. Here is the answer. First of all, ISI or Pakistani army have never laid any hurdles in the way of peace between India and Pakistan. It has been the Indian side, number one. Number two, today the headquarters of Pakistani armed forces that are located in Rawalpindi, they are only 200 and some miles away from Lahore. If they had any intention of doing something, they would have done it. That means that both the Chief of the Army Staff and the Armed Forces of Pakistan and the Prime Minister of Pakistan are on one page, which means that better relations with India are better than having confrontation with India. And this was, just 1 second, this was borne out by the visit of the Chief of the Army Staff in Washington, and he addressed a major think tank in Washington, and he delivered a speech in which he said, we are in favor of dialogue with India. I think everybody forgets that part of the speech.
No. You see, the speeches have always been in favor of dialogue. It's the actions of Pakistan army, ISI and terrorists that has been a big hindrance. That's the point, and that's the question I want to take to Nalin Kohli of the BJP who joins me on the broadcast. Nalin Kohli, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was fighting elections, and I remember that Lalan College speech of his when he was Chief Minister Narendra Modi, he used to say, Pakistan samajh jaye ki goli के बीच बातचीत नहीं सुनाई देती. Whereas that गोलीबारी stopped, Nalin Kohli, the Prime Minister is not only exchanging shawls and saris, he is also travelling to shadis in Nawaz Sharif's house. But terror still continues, sir.
Is there any ceasefire violation today? I don't recall anything being happening today specifically. Is there?
Really? It's only meant to be today. There's been a terror attack just 3 days ago. And
you asked a question.
My question wasn't specific to ceasefire violations. Your answer was ceasefire violation. My question wasn't specific to ceasefire violations, sir. My question was specific to Pakistan-sponsored terror, which continues unabated, sir.
Exactly. So I'll answer all of that. But when you said Golibari, so Golibari is normally reserved for the issues that happen in terms
terrorists
of
don't come
ceasefire
with flowers. Terrorists also use Golibari. A terrorist is also using an AK-47 assault rifle.
You are adding to my entire knowledge today. I must compliment you. I was not aware that terrorists don't come with flowers. That is really adding a lot to my knowledge.
Sir, sarcasm will not want answers, not sarcasm,
so anyway,
please.
No, I'm merely, Mr. Sawant, I'm merely pointing out in response to what you're saying. Now, if we can get back to the discussion, let's go one by one. First of all is, yes, we have a troubled past. That is no secret. It's known to each one of us. We also all know the problems. We also know that terrorism is critical to the India-Pakistan story. And that's been the message of Prime Minister Modi consistently. So far, there has been one structured statement in Prime Minister Modi's entire tenure, and that's the UFA statement. What is it about? It is clearly on the issue of terrorism. Who's going to speak about it? The National Security Advisors? That meeting couldn't take place. Then after an interlude, when a chance meeting in Paris, 100 and whatever seconds meeting, things have picked up pace. You've had the NSA's meet, you've had the foreign minister there, and you have talks of the foreign secretary's meeting in January. Obviously, the issues that matter to us are there. But the larger question remains that despite our troubled past, despite knowing what are the obvious problems, knowing where the pitfalls are, should an attempt be made or not be made? That's the larger question.
Okay, and
because
let
if
me
there
take
is
that
no
larger
attempt
question
for
to
peace,
Sanjay
there
Jha of
won't
the
be
Congress
peace.
party.
Whether
Sanjay
the
Jha-
attempt will lead to peace is
Okay.
something we hope for, but we can't be certain of.
Sanjay Jha, when these attempts were made by then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, the BJP called him weak-kneed. So if the Prime Minister today takes an initiative, what is wrong with it? Nalin Kohli's point is, the Prime Minister is trying to make a new beginning. Why is the Congress, trying to rain on his parade?
Gaurav, I thought the response of the BJP spokesperson to your very valid question was a complete manifestation of the short-termism of this government. His response was, there is no cross-border violation reported today. Therefore, it is such a rational justification for this visit. I think we should just ignore this completely. Let me get out of this rhetoric and come to the bottom line. The truth is that you'll go back to the way we all spent considerable time on national media discussing Mr. Modi's apparent friendly neighborhood policy when he invited Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif for his swearing in ceremony. The timing was actually, seemed to be quite potent with a lot of potentialities, because at that point the Prime Minister of Pakistan seemed to be in a pretty formidable position. Now you have General Raheel Sharif who's calling the shots, and now you have the Prime Minister very abruptly, according to the BJP, landing up in Lahore. Let me assure you, this is no abrupt visit.
Okay.
This has been planned for a considerable time. And the question that we need to ask the BJP is, why is the entire foreign policy on Pakistan shrouded in such deep secrecy? The Prime Minister's visit, the meetings in Bangkok, apparently a quiet, kind of rendezvous in Nepal. I think all of it smacks of a government that clearly doesn't know where it's going. And
Ambassador
one question
Casey
that
Singh,
the
is that
BJP
the
is not being
impression?
able to answer
Is
on
that
any
the
channel
impression
I've
you also
been
get?
to is,
Let me get
does
Ambassador
it mean
Casey
that
Singh
the
in for a
BJP
second.
has revised its policy on the Hurriyat? Now,
Okay.
ask this question of the BJP. Has it mean that they have gone back
I will
on
come
that
to
policy
Hurriyat in a
on
moment.
Hurriyat meeting
But
the Pakistan
okay, let me get
establishment?
Ambassador Casey Singh in.
Yeah.
Ambassador, the fact that you've had these secret parleys in Bangkok, a little 160-second meeting taking place in Paris, the foreign minister traveling for Heart of Asia, is this all shrouded in secrecy, or is this just good diplomacy that's happening away from the media glare so that there's something positive that comes out and perhaps expectations are low?
You see, I think secrecy was dictated because BJP laid so many Lakshman Rekhas and red lines and did so many flip-flops from last year till about 2 months ago that, they tied themselves up in knots. Now, having done that, if you have a precondition of Hurriyat, now how do you overcome it if you want to re-engage Pakistan? So you have to go to Bangkok, because you can't meet in Delhi because Pakistan will not drop meeting Hurriyat, though they will sequence it in terms of whether they meet before the meeting or after the meeting, or their High Commissioner meets them. Second thing was terror has to stop. Now what do you do? Because terror is not going to stop, and even if Pakistan was willing to really do everything that we want, it may not be possible to deliver it overnight before the talks start. So therefore they realized that those were impractical populist positions. To evade them, the secret meetings had to be secret, because at some stage public was going to ask that what are the conditions that you laid down, were they met? Which are the questions being asked today? So they thought, let's make some forward progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nalin Kohli should respond to this.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the BJP's position today?
There are
Will
two,
the
three aspects
Pakistanis,
to
if they come to India, will they
On the
meet the
Hurriyat.
Hurriyat or they will not meet the Hurriyat? Or is the BJP okay with the Pakistanis meeting the Hurriyat now, sir?
No, Mr. Sawant. I think we are missing the point here with regard to the Hurriyat. With regard to the Hurriyat, let's understand it clearly. They speak of solutions and positions that are outside the constitutional scheme of India. That's not acceptable. They don't participate in elections there in Jammu and Kashmir. You have a democratically elected with overwhelming majority. In that sense, people voted and brought in a government. Now, India does not say, our position has been, we will not allow a third party intervention or a person sitting like a third party in the talks between India and Pakistan.
Sir, thank you for increasing our general
When
knowledge.
Pakistan
My
seeks to
specific
involve them,
question is the BJP okay with Pakistanis meeting the Hurriyat when they come to India before formal India-Pakistan talks?
I suggest, Mr. Sawant, this discussion is going nowhere. Perhaps it's better I withdraw myself.
No, why would you want to withdraw? Why wouldn't you answer specific questions? Why wouldn't you answer specific questions?
I think it's probably better. Because I was answering that, we are getting into a tit-for-tat.
No, we are not. I'm asking you a specific question. Is the BJP okay? Is the BJP okay?
No, Mr. Sawant, we are both mature people enough to understand where this is going. So I suggest, I'm saying it, and I'm saying it with humility. Why have my participation on this? You can continue with your panel, it won't make a difference.
No, but tell me this, is the BJP okay? Is the BJP okay? Is the BJP okay? Sir, is the BJP okay with Pakistan meeting Hurriyat?
No, Mr. Sawant, you'll have to hear me because it's a polite protest. It's a polite protest that when I was making a point, and it is specific to what you asked, if you feel you need to add to the atmospherics of that, continue. This is a serious question. I'm taking the discussion seriously. So therefore, I mean, either we set these rules again and we continue back again where we are, or I'm saying I can politely refrain and move out. You can continue with your discussion. I'm sure without my voice also the discussion would continue.
Sir, is the BJP okay? Is the BJP okay with Pakistan delegation meeting the Hurriyat?
I was coming to that exactly.
Okay.
And that was the point where I got interrupted with what you were saying about general knowledge. Sure. Yes, thank you so much. So therefore, coming back to where we are, I said the Pakistani side, when it seeks to involve the Hurriyat on a formal engagement when India and Pakistan are to meet, we drew that red line. That line has been shown twice. Otherwise, it has been said, you are meeting anybody for a cup of tea, when you are doing, it doesn't matter. But you can't bring them as a party when two sovereign governments are talking to each other. That red line has been defined. That red line exists.
Okay. Sanjay Jha. Now, the Congress party says that this meeting was pre-planned. Two questions. One, are you satisfied with the BJP's response on Hurriyat? And two, why does the Congress say this was pre-planned and not a spur-of-the-moment decision that was announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi while he was in Kabul returning to Delhi?
You know, Gaurav, if there is a change on the Pakistan policy on Hurriyat, where they are saying that we will toe the Indian establishment's expectations, that's a significant statement to make. And if Nalin Kohli is actually saying that this should be a formal statement made by the MEA. This is the time for them. Well, I will come up and congratulate the BJP, as will my party, if they have managed to convince them of that. But you see, what you're witnessing once again is this whole, deceptive environment being created where you don't know what really are the issues being discussed. I have been on some panels on this discussion, Gaurav. The BJP spokespeople, leaders, nobody was aware of this meeting. At least they were not informed. Yet this meeting is planned because there is a whole issue of security. An Indian Prime Minister going to Lahore cannot happen impulsively like, dropping in to catch a Christmas party at somebody's house. Now, if this was on the agenda, then the fundamental question arises. Because, you can't have foreign policy where you ignore the people of India, ignore the opposition, perhaps even he ignores his own cabinet. The question is, why? Why is this government so discreet on a matter of a relationship with a complex and difficult neighbor with whom you have had wars in the past, with whom foreign policy has always been debated at great passionate length, because it impacts the security and the lives of Indian people. For heaven's sake, this is not about the BJP. This is about the lives of Indian people.
It's not about grandstanding and grand gestures. Absolutely. It's about safety of Indian people. And Nalin Kohli, what happens, God forbid, God forbid, if there is another terror attack, will talks still continue?
No, Mr. Sawant, that position is well known. And I think that position is clearly there.
Which is?
It's unacceptable if we are going to see loss of Indian citizens. That has been there. Now, with regard to what the Congress party said, I'll just like to remind Mr. Jha that model which he is proposing in terms of instructions being taken from an outside factor, like 10 Janpad used to control the Prime Minister's office, doesn't exist. The Prime Minister is in his rights to function as the Prime Minister of India, not as an appendage to somebody else.
Well, RSS controls
That model's
you.
been rejected.
RSS
So let's move on.
controls you.
If you
I
come
deny-
back to
I
power,
deny that
if
we had
people
anything
give
to
you
do
that
with RSS controls
opportunity,
you.
you are in your rights
And
to do
perhaps the
so.
US
Now
controls
let's
your
look at
foreign
what the
policy.
Congress party's spokesperson,
No, Gaurav,
Mr.
perhaps
Jha,
US
Mr.
controls
Jha,
the
did I
foreign
interrupt
policy
you?
under
I
Mr.
heard
Modi.
you.
Okay.
Though I disagreed with every word you said, we can have a civilized discussion or we can take this down the other route. So now coming back to what it is, the Congress, Mr. Anand Sharma has given a long spiel on television about an industrialist being involved. The industrialist brother is a senior Congress party leader. Ask him if his brother is involved in anything like that. Why may go through this big wrong rigmarole of asking questions? One
Can I answer
spokesperson
that,
says
Gaurav?
of the Congress
Can I answer
party,
that, Gaurav?
why is Parliament
You know,
not
just
taken
for the
into
benefit of our
consideration?
viewers who are
You
joining
don't
us
allow
now,
Parliament to
that is the
function, you
Prime
want
Minister's
Parliament
We are
to be
aircraft.
making an
taken into
allegation
consideration.
That's the
on this
Prime
government.
Minister's
He needs to
aircraft that is
explain
standing
it.
by to take
He
off.
cannot take comfort on the fact that that particular industrialist is related to somebody in the Congress. Mr. Kohli has to answer the allegation made by the Congress
that's an
party.
assumption.
There was an
And that's an
industrialist present
assumption.
in Nepal.
Okay.
There was an
That's an
industrialist present in
assumption.
Pakistan. Well, we are making an allegation. You can't ignore
No, but
that.
what
We
will
are
these
making it
talks
publicly.
lead
We
to?
are on
Ambassador
television.
KC Singh,
We are
I want to bring in
speaking like a
Tariq
responsible
Pirzada from Pakistan.
You can't take
Tariq
umbrage that he's
Pirzada,
related
what
to a
will these
Congress leader
talks
here.
lead to? What will these talks lead to? Will
I'm
we
not
see
taking
Pakistan?
umbrage. I'm pointing out a statement
Sir,
of fact.
Sure. Tariq Pirzada, will these talks lead to Pakistan perhaps reining in Dawood Ibrahim or Hafiz Saeed or Zakir Rahman Lakwi? Will we see any concrete action on terror that's aimed at India, sir?
These talks that are taking place today and the talks that will follow these talks next month between the secretaries of the two countries, they will be structured on the point and the roadmap that has been agreed to between Shishma Swaraj and Sartaj Aziz. If you look at the joint statement, it speaks of a number of core issues, including Kashmir, Siachen, Sarkrik, the Bombay, terror, trade, everything. But the core issues are there. If the core issues are settled, I think if the core issues are taken seriously and they are followed through as a result of this, incentive that will be provided as from Lahore today, I think we will be headed somewhere. But
Okay,
if these
we
core
really look
issues will
forward to
not
that.
be addressed,
We really
but
look
if
forward to that. We really look forward to something positive emerging from these talks. But General, when you look at the current situation, even today there was a terror attack, there was a grenade attack in Srinagar. Terror has been continuing unabated. So can we expect, or should India expect, Pakistan to take some concrete action
that's
on
not
India-specific
terrorism,
terror?
that's a war of liberation going on. What are we talking about?
Well,
General?
well, actually, Gaurav, there are two distinct facets to it.
Yes.
That one is terrorism, which we have to fight, and we will fight it the way we need to fight it. And our government has to really back us up on fighting that terrorism and insurgency. And I do hope they'll continue to give us support in that.
Okay,
As
stay
far as
with
the
me for a
second
moment,
aspect of
General. I have
diplomacy
Hina
and better
Rabbani Khan,
relations-
Pakistan's former foreign minister, who joins us on the broadcast. Hina Rabbani Khan, how do you look at this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Pakistan, to Lahore?
I think the surprise visit of Prime Minister Modi to Lahore and to Pakistan is obviously can only be viewed positively, to be quite honest, because I believe very strongly that Pakistan and India have been hostage to, animosity and hostility that they have bred against each other, in their own specific countries. And I think going into in this order, we should seriously now invest in creating an environment for peace and normalizing our relations to an extent where we are in a position that we can resolve our outstanding disputes, starting from the most easiest one and maybe going on to the most difficult ones, or either way. But the enabling environment has been missing for the last 2 years, has been seriously deficient in the last 2 years. And I believe that in the last 2 months, we've covered a lot of ground. Clearly, one cannot be overly optimistic about it. But I think this visit is also part of that trend to be creating the enabling environment for us to, sit on the dialogue table and be able to speak to each other as rational, logical people and invest in regional peace. And
So
peace
when
between
we
these
talk
two
about that
important
enabling
countries.
environment, in India there is concern about 2611, there is concern about fake Indian currency or drugs that seem to come in. That's the narrative in India. So can India expect Pakistan perhaps to speed up the 2611 trial, case in point, as a test case?
Look, if we want to keep on comparing and contrasting narratives, the narrative in Pakistan pretty much also is that India has been sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan through Balochistan. India has been sponsoring terrorism through Afghanistan. And if we keep on harping on the same tune, then endlessly for the next century, maybe we can continue to talk about what we've done to each other, what we intend to do to each other, right? I would like to move away from that narrative, and I would like to move away to a narrative accept the fact that both countries have not sustainably invested in peace, in creating the enabling environment, and those leaders who have not been able to deliver on it simply because they, again, the enabling environment for that has not existed. Now it is on to the leadership. The responsibility lies on their shoulder to not follow public opinion if it is negative, or if it is hostile to peace, and to create the environment where public opinion can also convert it to be one which is a constituency for peace rather than war. So it is extremely important that we are able to engage in an uninterrupted and uninterruptible process of dialogue, so we start resolving all of these issues and start appearing to the world also as rational people, because going at each other's throat is not helping your country, neither ours. This is a world in which regional cohesion makes a difference. There are many, many regional connectivity projects. We need to be looking at ourselves from a regional lens rather than, holistically nationalistic, antagonistic lenses. And if we do not do that, then to be quite honest, we'll be failing our children.
Okay.
And compromising on our future.
Ms. Khar, stay with me for a moment. I also want to bring in Ambassador K.C. Singh into this discussion. Ambassador, is this then going to be a departure from BJP government's stated position of uninterrupted and uninterruptible dialogue not possible if terror continues? And that seems to be a different narrative now, Ambassador.
No, that is, I think, understood. The question is not that one grenade attack is going to disrupt the dialogue. That was the reality that Congress faced, the UPA faced, because they used to be the biggest critics of the Vajpayee government, saying, you just stopped the dialogue, you deployed the army along the border and so on and so forth after the attack. Even they realized that if the monstrosity of the attack is tremendous and it is traced back to Pakistan, the sponsors are there, then there's no government in India which can continue a dialogue. The most peaceful government cannot continue a dialogue with Pakistan. But from Ms. Khar's narrative, what we are getting is that the impression they have in Pakistan now is that they've got moral equivalence. They feel that there's Balochistan and Samjhauta, there's 2611, let's put it away. These are just things in the past. I don't think we are going to see any major movement on 2611.
And general,
because of legal problems and unwillingness to gather evidence.
Yes, if Pakistan general, as state sponsor of terror, says it has moral equivalence with India, whether it's Samjhauta in 2611, it's Balochistan and Kashmir.
I need to address that question.
I will come to you in a moment, sir. Let me just get the General to respond, then I'll come to you. Tariq Pirzada. General, you go first, please.
You see, the point is very simple. Are we to go back and keep discussing what happened, or are we to go ahead? While Pakistan needs to answer the two recent questions of which adequate evidence has been provided, is one part of the story. Here is an opportunity which the Prime Minister of India has given today to the two nations, that let us think ahead and let us think out of the box. Let's give this a chance. But I must also say that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meetings is not going to be something that is going to completely resolve the whole issue and settle Nawaz Sharif, Dawood Ibrahim and everything else.
Yes.
The point is this, that today is a situation where the lines for diplomacy have changed, where the approach to diplomacy is changing, where the whole thing is being looked at in a different manner. None of us have ever seen this kind of thing happening. The Prime Ministers only meet when there's enough background and enough basic work done. Here are the two Prime Ministers meeting without an agenda, without any structured talks. They've met in Paris, they met in Ufa, and they're meeting now. So this is one more new development in the field of diplomacy. Let's see how it works. And
but what will it lead to?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi can spring a surprise any moment. You never can say he's full of surprises. There have been inconsistencies in his policies, and now you suddenly find there is another way of looking at it. Whether Hurriyat will be there or not there is a matter that we really do not know. So the point is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is full of surprises. We do not know which way he's going. But the way
what will these surprises lead to remains the question. Tariq Pirzada, can India hope that Pakistan will take some demonstrable action against India-centric terror for that narrative to become positive about talks moving forward and that they are result-oriented?
You know, I am getting the feeling, Gaurav, from your line of questions that you've been raising in the last half an hour, that as though you have not read this joint statement issued after the meeting between Sushma Swaraj and Sartaj Aziz. This is a statement that has two separate independent paragraphs. One relates to terrorism and expediting the Bombay trial. Somebody has to understand that statement.
I've read that. I've seen words.
So what that means is,
action is the key point, sir.
May I say something?
With words, we even saw Parvez Musharraf in 2004 say that Pakistani soil will not be used for terror against India, and in 2006 we lost 189 people in Mumbai in a series of blasts in trains. So it's not words, it's action.
All right, the action will speak when you give me the time to say something. Here is the answer. The issue is that Pakistan has done a lot to take care of terrorism within. We have lost 50,000 people. We are not interested in waging war of terror against anybody. Our issues are Kashmir, Siachen, Sir Creek, and your issues are Bombay and terror. And these things are covered by the statement of Sushma Swaraj and Sartaj Aziz. You are raising hell over an issue that has already been covered and will be discussed next month, when the two secretaries meet.
Okay, so KC is saying, are we just rewinding the clock and starting off once again? So we go from 0 to 10, then there is a terror attack, we come back to 0, and then after a couple of years we start again. So is this more of the same, sir?
I think what Modi government came in attempting to do was to try change the narrative. They thought they could somehow get a commitment from Pakistan that there would be no terror attack. Now that's impractical, because even if Pakistan gave a commitment or had the will and this thing, they can't stop it. But I think what is the parameters which are now available is that when there is a serious attack, where the perpetrators of which are in Pakistan, then Pakistan should not be in denial like it happened in Punjab. Just about a few months ago.
Yes.
Where you had GPS systems, terrorists had come across. We were very lucky the bombs on the track did not go off.
Yes.
Otherwise the train would have been derailed. And what is the answer we got from there? No, he's not a Pakistani. It's the same answer which you got after 26/11.
Yes.
So what is the change? We just want recognition, acceptance. Please accept at least reality. As long as you investigate and you allow us to, understand that you are going to be really holding people responsible when we give you the evidence, then that is where the problem arises.
Oh, absolutely. I need to take a quick break at this stage because there's lots more we want to discuss. Have we reached somewhere? Is this a zero-sum game? Can we move forward? And will we continue to move forward if there's a terror attack in future? What will we do then?